Hey there neighbors, Kevin here with eTrailer, and today we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install Roadmaster's Direct Connect base plate here on our 2022 GMC Sierra 1500. If you're looking to flat tow your 2022 GMC Sierra 1500, then there's going to be a few components that you're going to need. Now typically when it comes to flat towing, there's going to be 5 main components. The first one being your tow bar, and the second one being your base plate to make that physical connection between your vehicle and then the coach. Along with that, we're also going to have some safety cables, which you can see are bracketed to our tow bar so that it's all nice and held up so it's not dragging down on the ground. Next, we're going to have our diode wiring, or if you want to go with a kind of plug-in magnetic light at the back, just some way so that you can transfer your light signals from the motorhome back to the towed vehicle so that you can remain street legal. Along with that, you will also need to have a supplemental braking system. Now, in most states, you are going to have that required at a certain weight, or just in general, it's going to be required. So you might want to check your local laws. Even if your state doesn't require you to have it, if you're traveling to another one, you can get a ticket if you get pulled over and they find out you don't have one in a state where it is required. Now, along with those 5 main components, there typically is going to be something else you might have to install depending on the vehicle. In our case, with this Sierra today, we had to have the battery disconnected. So instead of every single time you want to flat tow, disconnecting the negative battery cable, we installed a Roadmaster battery disconnect so that way you can just disconnect and reconnect the battery at the push of a button. Along with that, something I recommend for every single flat tow is a charge line kit. And what that's going to do is trickle charge from the motorhome back to the battery on your towed vehicle. We have a few things like our braking system that are going to be connected directly to the battery, so they're going to be draining the battery even though our vehicle isn't on and running. There's nothing else in there that's going to be running. There's still a drain on it just because this braking system is pulling from it and a few other items that we needed to tap into that are all running off that. So in this case, along with our braking system, we also had to install a stoplight switch kit, and that's because GM doesn't have a brake light switch that you can tap into because they use a multiplex wire that's just not big enough for you to really make those connections. So now we have multiple components that are all pulling from the battery. So having that charge line to make sure that your battery isn't going to be dead when you get to your destination is going to be a huge game changer. Now with our tow bar disconnected and moved out of the way, we can take a closer look at our base plate. Now with this direct connect style, it's going to be just these 2 tabs sticking out with the motorhome side of this, the tow bar, having one thing to slot into here, so you're not having to line up a bunch of different holes, because there's some where you've got multiple prongs sticking out that you have to really get it in there just right, which isn't always easy, especially if you're not on level ground. So with this one, you easily just pop it in place, slot in your pin and clip, and you're ready to go. Along with that, when it is time to pack it all up, disassembly is just as easy. You'll just pull on this little pin here, turn it 90 degrees, and then you can pull the arms out and set them aside in storage. That way you can maintain that factory look. Now before we had just our tow hook sticking out, now we'll have this spot right here with our receiver end of our base plate along with just the loop for our safety chain. When it comes to base plates, Roadmaster is definitely one of the top tier names in the industry and honestly is one of my personal favorites myself. When it comes to recommending these for any neighbor, I'm typically going with Roadmaster in most cases just because I know that the quality's there and I know that they put the precision into it so that it's going to be an easier install and it's going to be a safe one. As far as this one does go, it's very simple because all we're doing is removing our tow hooks and then reusing that same mount. We're not going to be drilling into the frame. We're not cutting anything off. The only thing we had to do was, like I said, take out those tow hooks, the mount cover that's on the front here, so that way we could have our base plate poke through, and that was about it. So this is something you could easily do at home, but if you're already having everything else done as well, maybe you're getting a supplemental braking system as well and you don't feel like doing that yourself, then go ahead and use our dealer locator. You can enter in your zip code and find a shop within that so that you can get these professionally installed. Now, if you are going to do this yourself, stick around and I'll show you how I did it. Starting off our install, Roadmaster wants us to remove this little belly pan right here. So that's going to be 4 bolts. Each one of them is going to require a 13mm socket. So we'll pop those out. There'll be 2 on the bottom and then to just a bit higher up on the frame rail. And we can pull that down and set it aside. Next, we'll be removing this bracket right here so that we can get better access to our tow hooks so that we can pop those out and pop in the base plate. These are going to require a 10mm socket, and you'll have one on both the passenger side and driver side. On both our passenger side and driver side, we're going to have a bolt right here that we're going to need to remove, and that's going to require an 18mm socket. And then following that, we're going to have two more right next to it. This front one is going to have a nut on the other side of the frame rail. This one's just tying into a weld nut, so we'll want to take out the nut on this side over here first, and we can pull that bolt out, and we'll pop that one out as well. And all three of these are going to require an 18mm socket. Now for this one, you might want to just throw your hand over and hold the tow hook, because this is the last thing that's holding it in right now. So it might want to start wobbling on you and fall out. Now we'll push on it just to get these little clips out. Once you have those clips out of place, you can just drop it right down, get the cover out of place. With our tow hook removed, we can now add in our base plate. Now we want to make sure that we're using the correct side. If we look, there's a little notch that the arm is going to lock into, and this needs to be facing towards the inside of the vehicle. So on this one right here, this is going to be our driver's side because our notch is facing inward. Now under our bumper, we're going to line right up with that bracket we removed, and we'll push this through. You may have to kind of pry down on the bumper just a bit to get through. And then we're going to have it slip out our tow hook hole. Once we get past here, pushing just a bit. Might try coming a little bit from the side. See if we can get over that hump. There we go. And once you fight your way through, you can take one of your longer 1/2-inch bolts, and we're going to slip that through the front hole here towards the outside of the fascia. We got to get that all lined up. And once you do get it all lined up and push through, we're going to throw on a split lock washer and then a nut over on the outside of our frame rail. All right, so now I got that holding up our base plate. I'm going to throw a red Loctite on there. Just a little bit on that. And now we can just hand thread on that nut and kind of spread that Loctite around. All right, I put some red Loctite on already. We're going to be using one of our longer bolts. We'll throw on a washer, and we're going to slip this through the rearmost hole in the bracket. And before we go all the way through, we want to slide in one of these round spacers. There we go. And then on the outside of that, we're going to have a flat washer, split lock washer, and then another nut. So our next two bolts are going to be hidden. There's going to be a 1/2-inch one, and that's going to have this little weld nut that we're going to be sticking in through the frame. So if we look up at the frame, there's a big hole right on the inside of it, and we'll stick that through. This one's going to be going horizontal through the frame rail, and then this one here, the 7/16 bolt, it's a little bit longer. That's going to be shooting up vertically. There's a hole in the bottom of our base plate, and then there's like a metal tube that comes up from it, and then you hit the frame rail finally, and we're going to have another one of these weld nuts in there. So it's going to take a little bit of maneuvering to get it in, just because you are trying to eyeball through the same hole that you're running this through. So I'm kind of pre-bending this, but you want to be real careful because this is designed to snap off. So as you slide it in, it more like that. Get it all lined up. All right, I've got that almost hand tight, and then I'm gonna push my little stick up. That way it's out of the way so that we can get to the bottom one here. And same thing, I'm gonna bend my push rod so I can try and line this all up. We'll just have to feel for it. Now we have everything tightened down by hand, we can come back with our wrench and just snug it down, and then we can torque all 4 of our bolts. Right now there's going to be 3 bolts that are going to be 1/2 inch, and then that one that was going vertical, that's going to be your 7/16. So you want to make sure that you are following the correct torque settings, which are listed right after the instructions. Once you have all your hardware torqued down, you can then go back and sit there and break off these little push rods for those weld nuts, or if you want, you can just honestly cut them off. And once you have this side done, you can do the same process over on the passenger. Now we can reinstall our bumper support brackets. So that's going to be this guy that we took off right at the beginning. It goes right here with those 10mm bolts, as well as the bolt for up here for our other support. Now the final part of our install for our base plate is going to be putting back on this pan right here to help cover up this area, but since we have to run a bit of wiring through here for our diodes and also for our braking system, I'm just going to leave this down for right now. So if you're already past that point at home, that'll be it for the install. Well, I think that about does it for our look at and installation of the Roadmaster Direct Connect base plate kit here in our 2022 GMC Sierra 1500. My name's Kevin, and if you're still looking for the right base plate for your vehicle, please feel free to reach out to us via our Ask the Experts link, a comment on this video, or a phone call to our customer service department, and we'd be happy to help you out on your journey.